If you're in sales, what is the body language of no, and why does this matter? This is a super important question. I'm Scott Sylvan Bell, coming to you live for HVAC Technician Sales Secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you. So today, I want to talk to you about a mismatch, right? And so like, if I say no, that's a mismatch. My brain is saying, my head is saying yes, right? But my mouth is saying no. Right? So sometimes you'll get people when you're having a conversation about sales and they'll say yes, or they'll say no, right? And so what you really need to do is you need to baseline. Anytime you're dealing with a sales process, you have to look at the body language for what it is, right? So you and I are having a conversation, we've interacted for a good 30, 45 minutes. And like, if every time I say yes, that's a yes, then you start going, wait a minute, okay, Scott, whenever he says yes, his head does this. And if I say no, my head does no. And you're like, Scott, this sounds so basic. Why does it matter? Like, okay, so when you're having a sales conversation with a buyer, sometimes they do this and you don't really pay attention until you go, wait a minute, Scott just pointed this out. And this is why you should go to HVAC Tech Secrets. I'll give you the goods, not in the Facebook group, not in the YouTube channel. So what that means is extra training for you, extra coaching for you, maybe some discounted, some content as well. Sometimes I gotta make money, right? I got to sell some stuff and make money. So there's going to be a point, right, that you're talking to your buyer, you're talking to your client, and you're like, all right, so when our guys come out and do this install, they're going to put down drop cloths, they're going to clean up any messes they make, and you're going to see your buyer start doing like this no thing, and you're like, well, wait a minute, what's going on? Right? So like anytime that I'm having a conversation, I want people to say yes, I got the bobblehead going, yep, right? Because I'm trying to get them to do it. I'm trying to get you to do it too, right? So you're like, hey, I didn't realize that I'm doing the bobblehead thing. That means we have good rapport. So sometimes when somebody's out of sync, out of rapport, what they're going to do is they're going to give you the mismatch. So you're going to say, hey, so when our guys come out, you're going to really like them. They're really cool people, kind of guys you want to spend an entire day with or a couple of days with. And, you know, you're going to nod your head, right? And then you're going to pick up, but the buyer's going to go, no. Like, oh, that's super interesting. So it doesn't mean that you give up. So what that means is you might have to put in some extra work. And so sometimes this comes down to a question, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, would you be comfortable with the team that I described coming out? And if they go, yeah, it might have been pure accident. But if they say no, it's a point of contention, and it's a point where you can go, well, can you share with me what's going on? Can you give me some insight? Can you give me some reason why? And sometimes people just, they don't have one. And sometimes people will say, well, I haven't made my decision yet, right? So you can't get upset. You have to dig in and say, hey, what's going on here? What's really going on? I have questions, right? So the mistake when it comes to nonverbal communication, the mistake when it comes to body language is automatic assumption of like, this is what that sign means. What it could mean, it could just be nervous energy. So you need to know that for the most part, this is yes. For the most part, that's no. And sometimes it's ambiguous where the people get confused and they just don't realize that they're doing some body language and it's nonverbal leaking. And sometimes it means absolutely nothing. So you got to ask some really good questions and slow down. The mistake is to assume that it's a no and the deal is not done. Stick in, ask some questions, have some fun. You got one or two things to do from here, one or two. Find the subscribe button, click on it every time I send out a video. You will get an update or hit follow. We'll see you soon.